Hey there guys, what is going on? We are back with another Cold War video today, talking about the best gun in each category again after the most recent update in the Season 3 Reloaded patch. There are a lot of fantastic guns in this game, and in each category there's basically a coin flip to decide which is the best gun in each category, and we're going to have to talk about some honorable mentions here because there are some absolutely fantastic weapons in this game that are just below the top of the category, which is a little unfortunate, but there is a lot of weapon variety in this game at the moment, and that is absolutely fantastic here. Just before we do get into it here, make sure you do hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on. We recently passed 4,700 subscribers, so we are very close to 5,000 subscribers now, and if you could help me hit that goal, that would be absolutely massive here. And let's just jump straight into it here, because we do have the best guns in each category here and a class setup for each of them. So starting off at the top here, we do have the assault rifle category, and as you may have seen on the channel recently, the AK-47 is probably the best assault rifle in the game right now. Shout out, of course, to the FARA 83 for having a 300 millisecond time to kill with pretty good attachment options, very good hit detection, but just being slightly worse in my opinion than the AK-47 at the moment, as this did receive a ridiculous buff to its bullet velocity, making it a very, very powerful weapon. I was already pretty sold on the AK-47 as it was, and then they were like, yeah, the bullet velocity is 700 now, which is a bit confusing, but it is what it is, I guess. If we go over the rest of the class setup here, we are looking at, of course, the stim shot in the tactical slot to continue those gunfights on those longer streaks here. In the lethal slot, you can take the Semtex, but the choice is up to you with this particular slot. It doesn't really matter what you choose, you can take whatever you like. Field upgrade slot is pretty important, however, the jammer or the field microphone, or however you do want to play the game is of course up to you, so this is another choice that you can choose. Then in the wildcard slot, because we don't actually need 8 attachments on this particular weapon, we can just take 5. Perk Greed is fantastic for giving us those extra perks, and our perks are as follows with Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Scavenger, Tracker, or of course you can take Assassin in this, and then Ninja and Ghost here. Our attachments on the AK-47 are going to be as follows here. This is a class setup that we have featured a lot recently, so we're going to go over the attachments. We want to start off with that suppressor here. This does keep us off the minimap when we are firing this thing, which is very, very powerful in this game for being stealthy and allowing us to move around the map quite easily. And then you move, of course, to the barrel. You want the VDV reinforced barrel for a 100% increase that effective damage range. This does take our damage range out to 71 meters, which is absolutely insane. That's a 300 millisecond time to kill out to 71 meters, which feels really, really powerful in this game. And of course, this does increase our bullet velocity by 40%, and this was increased in the patch as well. So 877 meters per second of bullet velocity is absolutely fantastic for hit detection. In the underbarrel slot here, we are going for the Spetsnaz speed grip for a 5% sprinting movement speed increase, as well as 15% increase to that horizontal recoil control. This does keep us on target and allows us to move around the map quite quickly when we are sprinting. Then the handle, Serpent Wrap, of course, for a 25% increase to our aim down sight speed is very nice here. A lot of people do take the GRU Elastic Wrap, but this does actually reduce our shooting movement speed and our sprint to fire speed by a quite significant amount, which are some of the more important statistics that in this game. And then to round this off, we do have the KGB skeletal stock here for a 30% increase to our sprint to fire time and 40% increase to our aim walking movement speed. This is a really, really nice class setup here. The AK-47 is probably the best assault rifle in the game right now. 300 millisecond time to kill out to 70 meters with an insanely good bullet velocity now is absolutely ridiculous. The FARA 83 is very, very close behind it, as I said, but I think it's a little less powerful than this at the moment. I think the AK-47 is definitely the best assault rifle here. In the SMG category, this is again another one that is pretty much a coin flip to decide the best gun in this category. Of course, we are talking about the LC-10, and then you can compare this to something like the KSP-45, which does feature a 220 millisecond time to kill out to about 20 meters if you get those one burst kills, and you're like, that's absolutely insane. But again, the LC-10 is probably the best SMG in the game right now in terms of all purpose and basically ease of use. KSP can be a little bit more difficult to use if you aren't getting those one burst kills, you aren't getting that super ridiculous fast time to kill. So it's one of those options that you do have to trade off, so keep that in mind here. The attachments on the LC-10 are going to be as follows here. We want to start off with that infantry compensator for a 12% increase to that vertical recoil control. This does help keep our shots down and on target when we do combine this with something like the Task Force barrel, which actually does give us quite negative recoil stats, but it also gives us damage, range, and bullet velocity in quite nice amounts here. This is a very, very good weapon for hit detection in this game with a bullet velocity of about 800, 700 meters per second with an SMG is really, really strong. Then you move to the underbarrel, we're going for the SFOD speed grip here for the sprinting movement speed increase and vertical recoil control increase. This again does keep us on target and allow us to move around the map more quickly. Serpent Wrap on this particular class setup, getting those sights up nice and quickly with a 25% increase to our aim down sight speed is very, very important. Similar stats to how we have talked about the airborne elastic wrap previously. Shooting movement speed and sprint to fire speed are very, very important stats in this game, so we don't really want to reduce those too much. And then lastly, the Raider stock here for a 30% increase to our sprint to fire speed, which is one of the weapon's low points, and this does increase it here. And 10% to aim walking movement speed is quite nice to keep us on target. Again, the rest of the class setup is going to be pretty much however you want. We want the Stim Shot, the Semtex, the Jammer. Again, choose these as you do prefer. Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Assassin, Scavenger, Ninja, and Ghost here. And again, you don't need 8 attachments on this thing, so Perk Greed you definitely can get away with here. The next category that we do have here is the Tactical Rifle, and there's been a lot of talk about the Carve 2 recently, but I still think the M16 is probably the best one in the game right now. you are getting those one burst kills out to about 20-ish meters or so, which again is very, very powerful in this game. You do have to run 8 attachments on this thing to make the most use of it, and that is a little unfortunate as I do really, really like to run Perk Greed here. But again, the rest of the class setup, Stim Shot, Semtex, Jammer, again, choose these as you do prefer. Our optimal 3 perks for an 8 attachment class setup is going to be Flak Jacket, Scavenger, and Ninja for that explosive resistance, getting that extra ammo on people we do kill, as well as having Ninja to not make any footstep sounds. And then, as we said, Gunfighter is very, very important for these particular class setups because having 8 attachments on the M16 makes it very, very strong. Our attachments are going to be as follows here. We want to start off with that Millstop Reflex for a very clear sight picture here. I don't like the iron sights on this thing at all, so this gives us a nice clear sight picture. Then the muzzle, the Infantry Compensator for a 25% increase to that vertical recoil control. This is a burst weapon, so it doesn't have super lots of recoil anyway, but this does reduce it here quite nicely. Then the barrel, we do have the Task Force for a 14% increase to our damage, 50% range, and 50% bullet velocity. Again, this is one of those options that does give us the most amount of one burst kills out to about 20-25 meters or so, which is very, very powerful in this game. Then the body, the SOF target designator here, when you are aiming down sight, you get little red dots on people's heads, allowing you to see them slightly more easily than you would normally. And then, of course, the underbarrel, the SFOD speed grip. Sprinting movement speed, horizontal recoil control keeps us on target and allows us to move around the map quite quickly. Then the magazine, 45 round mag, of course, to give us just more bullets to fire. You don't really need anything fancy here. You don't need 54 rounds at a very fast reload speed. This is a suitable option here. Then the handle, Serpent Wrap again, aim down sight speed only, not reducing those other stats that we talked about previously. And then the last one, the SAS combat stock for the shooting movement speed increase and a aim walking movement speed increase of 78%. Again, there's a lot of talk about which is the actual best tactical rifle, but I still believe the M16 is probably the most powerful one in the game right now, just for getting those consistent one burst kills and good damage and range values. Next, we do have the LMG category here, and we're talking about the Stoner 63 again. I don't really think the LMG category is too significant in this game anymore since they did nerf a lot of the good things about this particular weapon. The Stoner 63 did take a very large hit at the start of Season 3, and more recently the Task Force barrel in the most recent patch did get a fairly large nerf. It is still the best option for a lot of the LMGs, but it's still making the weapons a little bit less powerful. It's just one of those weird options where you can just sort of sit at the back of the map and shoot across the entire map and get like 3 to 4 shot kills, which is very strong, but they're kind of forgotten weapons now. I don't really use these too often unless they are absolutely broken, which this one isn't really anymore. Again, this is an 8 attachment class setup, so Gunfighter is a must-have for most LMGs to give us the most amount of attachments here and the most amount of positives for our stats. Again, we do have 3 perks here as a result of Gunfighter, so Flak Jacket, Scavenger, Ninja, and again, Stim Shot, Semtex, and the Jammer in the middle slots. The attachments on the Stoner 63 are going to be as follows here, starting off again with that Millstop Reflex. This is going to be very similar to how you have seen the tactical rifle class, but as we go on, again, Infantry Compensator, vertical recoil control, very important for this thing, keeping us on target. Barrel, still go with the Task Force option for that little bit of increase to our damage. 100% range is just ridiculous, and a bullet velocity of 41% takes these values to still quite nice numbers here. Then the body, SOF target designator, again, those little red dots when you are aiming down sight are quite nice. And then, of course, the speed grip, 12% sprinting movement speed is really nice for this weapon. And then 15% horizontal recoil control for hitting those targets very easily is still quite nice here. Magazine, you want that fast mag to give us a 25% increase to our reload speed. Really, really nice for staying in those engagements. And the handle, airborne elastic wrap here. I know what I said previously, but the aim down sight speed with this thing is just really, really slow. So this does give us the most amount of aim down sight speed. And then the stock, the SAS combat stock, shooting movement speed and aim walking movement speed that we did lose from, of course, the airborne elastic wrap. So keep this in mind here. This is a very, very powerful attachment. Again, I don't really use the LMGs anymore too much, but I still think the Stoner 63 is probably the best one. I haven't done a lot of research into this, but this is what I want to go with here in terms of my LMGs. Now, one of the more significant changes, of course, in the last balance patch was the nerf to the snipers, the changes. Now, keep in mind, these sniper changes aren't actually that bad. When you do put them into practice, these sniper changes aren't actually that bad. Like, they are slightly slower in terms of aim down sight, but in some regards, it's literally like less than a frame, so you won't really notice it anyway. So just keep that in mind here. Again, this is a 5 attachment class setup, so Perk Greed is what we want to go with here. We've got Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Scavenger, Assassin, Ninja, and Ghost. Again, those perks are choose your own adventure, whatever you do want to do. Stim Shot, Semtex, and Jam, again, keep those in mind. You can switch these out if you prefer. Our attachments are going to be slightly different to how we have run this previously, but again, we're really only changing out a couple here. They did actually nerf the Tiger Team barrel on a lot of these weapons, but it is still probably the best option in terms of that damage, fire rate, and bullet velocity. You get those one-shot kill zones that are a little bit nicer on these things, and of course the fire rate and the bullet velocity. I don't think I actually mentioned that we are talking about the Tundra here, but the Tundra is still the best sniper, so keep that in mind as well. Then the underbarrel, SFOD speed grip, sprinting movement speed is a really important stat for me. I like to move around the map quite quickly, but again, you can take like a patrol grip or an infantry grip as well. for the movement speed, shooting movement speed, and aim walking movement speed. So just keep that in mind. You can switch this grip out if you do prefer that. Then the magazine, 7-round mag to give us more bullets to fire. Keep in mind when you do have the Tiger Team barrel, you do get 6 rounds in the magazine. Handle, we are changing from the airborne elastic wrap. Look at the garbage stats on this thing now. 5% aim down sight speed, 25% flinch resistance and drop shots. Man, that is not worth it at all. So you can take 2 different options here. Serpent Wrap does give us the most amount of aim down sight speed here of a 10% increase, which is really, really nice. Or you can take the SSAR Jungle Grip for an 8% increase, but more flinch resistance. This does give us the same or similar amount of flinch resistance as you did have previously, but the Serpent Wrap does give us more aim down sight speed. This again, flip the coin here, you can choose whatever you prefer. And then lastly, the Raider Pad for that sprint to fire speed and aim walking movement speed increase. This is a nice attachment to round out this class setup here. So as I said, the snipers did get nerfed recently, they did get changed. There's weird stuff going on with the snipers at the moment, but this is still a very, very powerful weapon, and the changes that they made aren't actually too bad. So you can still use this, you can still absolutely shred people, so keep that in mind. Use the snipers still, they're still fine. The next category that we are talking about here is the pistols, and I still think the Diamatti is still the best option. We'll have to wait and see for the AM63 because they didn't actually add that yet. I have no idea why they didn't do that just yet, but it is coming, so keep that in mind. We might have to remake this video when that does drop. We're not sure yet. So the Diamatti attachments are going to be as follows. You don't really need the rest of the class setup here. The attachments are going to be, somebody did recommend the infantry compensator to me the other day for a little bit of extra recoil control. I still prefer the sound suppressor, but you've got 2 options here. So again, flip a coin, choose these out, test them, and do what you want here. Barrel, again, task force, damage, range, and bullet velocity, similar to how we have featured on most of these other class setups here. 5mm laser, hip fire accuracy of 35%, really nice increase. Then the magazine, we want the most amount of bullets to fire, fastest reload speed. Simple option is the last 30 round fast mag. And then the stock in the dual wield slot, really, really nice option to give us 2 of these very powerful pistols. These do act as our primary sometimes, which is really ridiculous because they are very, very powerful. More powerful than most of the shotguns. Speaking of the shotguns here, I still think the Street Sweeper is probably the best one. If you have played hardcore at all, you will know the power of the Street Sweeper. But I mean, even still in core game modes, the Street Sweeper does still get you a 2 to 3 shot kill most of the time. And being automatic, it's just a ridiculous weapon in this game. So keep that in mind here. Street Sweeper is still good, but I think the Diamatti is still probably better than this. And when the AM63 does come out, I think this is probably going to be better than that still. But it is what it is here. In terms of our attachments here, the muzzle, we want the infantry V-choke for when we do aim down sight. This does tighten up our pellet spread quite nicely here by 75%, meaning we do more damage when we do aim down sight most of the time. The barrel, the ranger, you don't really need the task force option anymore. You aren't getting a one-shot kill anyway, so having more shots at those longer distances is really, really nice. A 30% increase to our range here. Body, SWAT 5mm laser, 35% hipfire accuracy is really nice for getting those shots down range. And then the magazine, you want 18 of them, so having more bullets to fire is always good, or shells rather. And then the last one, the no stock, of course, for sprint to fire speed increase of 40% while reducing our hip fire accuracy is not super significant here, so keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it here. I'm not going to go over the launches. I don't really need to give my opinion on the best melee weapon and the special weapons. I mean, probably the R1 Shadowhunter because it actually does damage and kills people. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, hopefully you did enjoy this one. Hopefully you did take something out of these class setups. These are my favorite weapons and probably the best weapons in each category in the game right now. Big shout out to the AK-47, which I believe is probably one of the best weapons in the game at the moment because it is just so powerful. That bullet velocity increase was absolutely ridiculous. I do not know why they did that, but just use the AK while it's still very, very powerful. They'll probably tune that back slightly in the next patch. So again, just keep that in mind. This is probably going to get nerfed eventually because it is probably overpowered right now. Again, thank you very much for watching this one. I do massively appreciate it. Of course, make sure you hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on. We are about 290 subs away from 5,000, which is very, very exciting. So if you could help me there, that would be absolutely ridiculous. And I really would appreciate that. Of course, I will see you in the next one. Bye.